I want to introduce Mr. Peter Wong, who is the CTO for Prenetics, and he's going to talk a bit about what Prenetics does and also a use case that we've been working with his team on. Peter, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. So my name is Peter Wong. I'm the CTO for Prenetics. Today, I want to talk to everyone about the concept of decentralized testing. So let's talk a little bit about what we do as Prenetics. Right, we decentralize healthcare. This is our aim. This is something that we've been looking into for the past since actually we began. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and how we actually get there. Now, if you think about healthcare in a traditional sense, and even right now, is that it's very centralized. It's often unidirectional. You go to a hospital, you go to a clinic, you speak into a professional, and you receive some advice, drugs, and so on and so forth. We think we can actually decentralize that by actually making the services of the medical services, health services, more accessible and affordable to everyone. That means making it available at home, so you can do your tests, get your consultation at home. At the same time, you can also do that without the concept of, hey, I get my test, I get my result, now I have my ideas about myself. I can then use that to actually make informed decision about my lifestyle. So that's the whole concept of decentralized healthcare. We are aiming to set up an end-to-end health ecosystem in the pillars of prevention, diagnostics, and personalized care. Now, how do we do that? Well, we started off actually as a very small company back in 2014 with 9 people. We're now with 11 people. Now we scale up to actually 9 locations across the globe. So that's actually, there's a lot of work being done by the team. What I would say is what we've been focusing on is delivering values to our customers. And what we've been looking at is how we can continue to do that in the space of, in Web 2 and even now in Web 3. So what have we done so far? Right, what have we done so far is looking at delivering this end-to-end health ecosystem. This is our vision, looking into going from preventions, DNA tests, at-home tests, lab tests, all the way into how we actually manage electronic medical record, which is going to be something that I want to dig into a little bit more, but also in terms of consultations and e-pharmacies. This is an end-to-end health ecosystem. Today, we actually done a number of services already. We offer a number of services to the public. We now do DNA tests, 31 million data points. This is something using whole exome sequencing, one of its kind. We've been able to offer, using that technology, we've been able to offer up over 500 results with a collection of swab. Since then, we're also looking into other types of tests. We just launched this year the first FitDNA colorectal cancer early detection non-invasive test using stool. Right, that's now available in Hong Kong. And more recently, we offer a selection of blood-based at-home test for health checks, looking at your food sensitivity, your heart health, looking into COVID antibody level. So all of that work we've delivered is based on an IT infrastructure, a system infrastructure, right? And not least, in the last 2 years, you might have heard us more in the COVID pandemic setting, where we've been helping the Hong Kong community as well as the United Kingdom to combat COVID. To date, we actually done over 9 million tests in PCR globally. And what today, more importantly, is also we're continuing fighting COVID with the community in Hong Kong. This is something ongoing with travel resuming, with a lot of the industry resuming as well, like this kind of in face-to-face meeting, right? Having this been available, we continue to make sure that this is possible through testing. So this is something we continue to do. Now, underneath all of that is actually some very important concept in infrastructure, and that is security and privacy. Right? We talked about a lot of services. We talked about a lot of products that we offer. But all that data the user, the customer has to provide, has to be secured. And we need to make sure that that data not only secure, but is available and is confidential and actually remains with integrity. Right? This is the pillars of CIA pillars with information security. And this is something that we make sure that we continue to enforce and uphold. We do that with a layer system designed by security by design, a zero trust architecture, looking into a layer system going from application, network to data, how we can actually make sure all of this is secure and encrypted. Of course, looking into the concept of shift left as well in security development. This is something that is not a job that someone else does. It's actually everyone in the process of offering this product and service is involved, is thinking about security. So shift left is something we really focus on. And also, of course, a rigorous business process. And of course, we don't have the answer for everything. So we continuously seek help from security experts, third parties, to actually assess our system, to make sure that we actually, we're not marking our own homework, right? And this is why also our lab is also accredited with ISO for the same reason as well. Now, if you look at this setting in infrastructure, in security privacy, in the Web 2 standpoint, which is a traditional setting, this is something that we currently still do when we offer product and services, is an individual will go to buy a test with us, and they will send a sample back to the lab, right? And what we see also is with every interaction point about a registration with their tests, getting the results, and also as well as presenting that result once they receive to the authorities such as airports, if you need to travel, to hospitals, if you want to share this with your doctor. All of that data, all of that interaction or digital interaction is through encrypted network, right, into our data store. Now that data store is centralized, right? It's centralized, now albeit it's encrypted, it's backed up, it's replicated, so there's fault tolerance been built in. Nonetheless, it is still centralized, and the data, you actually pass data on to a third party, in this case us. Right, so we want to look into this and say, actually, how can we make our services even more accessible and to a much wider audience, and also make it a lot more trustworthy as well, from a perspective that actually, maybe we don't even need to hold any of your data from that perspective. And this is where Web3 comes in, right? Looking at Web3, we're looking at how we can use this technology to strengthen our end-to-end health ecosystem from a perspective of, hey, if a customer wants to do a test with us, they can do it anonymously, right? We don't need to know all of their details, or any of their detail for that matter. They should be able to just send us a sample, and we should be able to give them the result, not only anonymously, but the result should not be able to repudiate it. There should be non-repudiation, right? And what's more important is, because they don't have to send us any PII data, they have complete control of that health data we send back to them as well, the health results, right? How do we give that control back to the user? So that's where we're actually prototyping and thinking about and exploring what we can do using Web3 on top of, well, I guess underneath all the services and products that we offer, right? So here comes the concept of decentralized testing in Web3. You can see that the journey or the interaction doesn't change that much, right? In terms of, I'm still sending a sample back to the lab, I'm still getting a result, and then I'm still showing that result to a third party, such as your doctor or to the airport. But what's really now important difference is the interaction is we actually audited and actually encrypt that data and that interaction into the blockchain, in this case with BSN. And the idea is not only you can send the proof of the data into the blockchain, we can also store in an encrypted manner the actual medical data off-chain, right? Then you have your content address encrypted into the chain. And all of that, of course, is done by a data structure. You use a smart contract to build up the data structure so you can put that into your blockchain. And that's quite powerful because it means that the user no longer, if they need to activate a kit, they no longer need to tell us everything about themselves. All we need is a public key, right? All they need a public key, all we need to give back to them is a session key, right? Which we use their public key to encrypt. And the public key, because we're not dealing with certificates, there's no CA. No one is authorizing, say, this is you, right? So you can do this completely anonymously. But what also means is that the proof of the data, say the content of the data, we can hash that, and the hash itself can be on the chain. And that means we know the data cannot be tampered. We know where the data is coming from, and we can actually transitively bring that data from the lab to the customer to wherever they want to share that data with. And what's more important is when you do the sharing piece, that data, you don't have to share the whole thing. Because now the user has complete control because the data is actually off-chain, right? It's not with us. It's actually off-chain. In this case, we're looking into IPFS and system alike. Then the user can actually say, actually, I only want to show this part of the result to the authority, not the whole thing. Imagine I'm doing the circle DNA test, 500 plus reports. I don't want to show all 500 results to the doctor. I just want to show like 2 results. I can do that. And again, the proof of that authorization is on the chain. So this is where we believe that we can actually offer anonymous testing and decentralized testing. And what's more important now is what we've developed is a series of services and application sitting between the user, the lab, and the authority so that it can help to interact the smart contract. It can help to interact with IPFS and with the chain. And this is quite important because one of the key things that we believe there is an opportunity is how do we make this infrastructure, as a public IT system, how we make this infrastructure more useful for developers like ourselves and service providers like ourselves, but at the same time, how do we make it more accessible to the user, the end users, right? How do they actually benefit from this data, from this use case, and from this ecosystem? And so that's how we want to decentralize testing from an infrastructure standpoint, and then decentralize healthcare from the services and we provide on top. Thank you. That's the end.